Just like corporations, stars, too, can engage in mergers and acquisitions. A new study has identified a pair of white dwarf stars heading toward a merger. White dwarfs are the hot, super-dense remnants of spent stars. In a binary system called J0651, two white dwarfs circle each other very rapidly. The binary pairing completes an orbit in less than 13 minutes. And that already rapid orbital dance is speeding up as the two white dwarfs spiral in on each other. Each year their orbital period shrinks by 0.3 milliseconds. That's actually a pretty dramatic change on astronomical timescales in about a million years.
Atmospheric currents carry soot thousands of miles from where it is produced to the Himalayas and the Arctic. Black carbon, being black, absorbs sunlight, so even a little soot on snow makes it melt faster. And when snow melts, global sea levels rise, threatening our freshwater indigenous communities and polar bears who hunt on the Arctic ice. Climate change has been a big thing for a while, and carbon dioxide has been its main cause. Scientists estimate that soot causes 25% of human-caused global warming. It's the second leading cause of Arctic warming after carbon dioxide. Let's take a look at this video of these little kids. They were offered the option of having one marshmallow immediately now or two marshmallows 15 minutes later, and you've got some very cute videotape of this experiment. So let's take a look. Okay, what we found is a very simple and direct way of measuring a competence that seems to make an important life difference. A researcher tells these preschoolers that she's going to leave the room if they wait for her to come back without eating the marshmallows.
Humans used to utilize simple machines to understand themselves and improve well-being. Later, engineers developed more complicated machines to expand humans' life expectancy, so that we can have more time to create more advanced machines. For example, now we have ECG to study the different parts in our body and how they work, without going into the body.
I get some good quality nectar here, want to stop by for a visit. But new findings show that bees also use color to get clues about a flower's temperature. And according to a study from a British research team published in the journal Nature, some like it hot. Bees use up a lot of energy just staying warm on some days. In fact, they can't even fly if they are too cold. So if one flower is warmer than another, a bee can save some of its fuel by basking on that flower while it's doing its pollinating business.
Over time, hopefully, we can move to a position where borders are completely open. Persuading skeptics won't be easy. That's why I think the argument for free migration has to be made at several levels. A principled case, it increases freedom and reduces injustice. A humanitarian case, it helps people much poorer than ourselves. An economic case, it makes us richer. And a pragmatic case, it is inevitable, so it is in everyone's interest to make the best of it. Freedom of movement is not just a matter of human rights and international solidarity.
A picture with data of economic growth percentage. Over the past 20 years, the economy in Latin America developed by 80%. After globalization and reform, the growth slowed down to 10%. People were asking why and start to consider if the reform is positive or not. The growth rate of economy was even slower than that before the reform. It is not sustained at all. The poverty rate, which was at $2 per day, has increased. There are some similarities such as polar caps, atmospheres and water climate. But Mars and the Earth also have lots of difference. Even the most inhabitable areas on the Earth are way different from those on Mars. In preparing for the Phoenix mission, scientists have done Antarctica trial runs. The lecture also describes different forms of water, hydrology, on the surface and underground of the Earth and Mars.
The modern home design is very different to that of the past, in my country. The material being used now in the construction of houses if much advanced, like weatherproof paints, insulated walls, soundproof windows, etc. The design of the modern houses is according to the space available. There is better utilization of space in the modern home designs. The homes in the past used to be more spacious and not equipped to handle the latest electronic gadgets and equipment, like washing machine, microwave, dishwashers and so on.
I mean that goes on for the rest of our lives in million or more words in English. Most of us only have a vocabulary of 50, 60, 70,000 words, whatever it is, until there is always something to learn. So remember that two ends of child language acquisition are wider apart than some people think. That means there is more scope for studying in it than most people think. So let's take 'em on at a time. Child. When to start being a child. For many people, language acquisition starts around about 12 months when kids say that first word, but don't forget the first year. At the first year, our first year of life is very important as well, and indeed before you are born. Remember, there are a couple of months before you are born, when you actually able to perceive in the womb, something of the language that's around you. So language acquisition starts earlier than most people think. And it also ends later than most people think. No, Mandeville spoke is not really about actually real foreign lands. It's about what Europeans thought that was just outside the bounds of their civilizations. It's about what's beyond that mountain range that marks the borders of the lands you know. It's about what medieval people thought the foreign looks like. And all of it is mysterious, alluring, and intimidating unknown. But if you were to go to a library at the end of the 1300s, or through the 1400s, you would probably find a book that was then way more popular than those titles we still read, a book that purported to be a description of the world, a guide the traveling and distant lands of BC area, and almanac of everything that was just off the horizon. I am not talking about Marco Polo. No, I'm talking about something far, far weirder and far, far less tethered to reality.
The news marketplace of ideas dominated by television is so different from the one that emerged in the world dominated by the printing press, because the quality of vividness experienced by television viewers is different from that by readers, and the simulation of reality accomplished in the television medium is much more compelling and vivid compared with the representation of reality conveyed by printed words. Until the early 1960s, newspapers published separate job listing for men and women, and the wage gap, whose closing has been at a rate of about half a penny a year since 1963, when the Equal Pay Act was signed, is a statistical indicator often used as an index of the status of women's earnings relative to men.